Pull it. Let it go.
What's up, guys? I just saw the most fascinating podcast ever on the channel of Michaela Peterson, the daughter of Jordan Peterson, with her father and Wim Hof. And they are discussing the Wim Hof method and how this can change you or cure you, because Jordan Peterson is severely ill. He talks about this several times in this podcast.
I'm having all sorts of trouble regulating my physiology for a variety of reasons. I'm very ill. It's damage from medication.
I almost started crying. Why is that? It is because of the message that Wim Hof is giving us here. It's a message we need to hear. We live in a sick world, and Wim Hof knows that, and he talks about it in this video. What's up, guys? Today Jordan Peterson is going to try out the Wim Hof method, and I hope sincerely that within a couple of weeks or months we will get a response from him telling us, communicating to us if this method is actually helping him, because the man is severely sick. If you're new to this channel, my name is Gert Leroy, helping you master freediving.
You guys want to do it?
Yes.
Then tell me how you feel afterwards.
Okay.
We just do one round. I recommend you do it, Jordan, you do it whenever you feel anxiety or deep neurological deficiency or whatever. Yes?
Okay, well, that means I should be doing it about 200 or 300 times a day, I would say.
So, he feels about 200 to 300 times a day this feeling of anxiety. So the man is deeply sick. I also think there is a little bit of humor in this, but every joke has a grain of truth. I also think he's a little bit uncomfortable. He doesn't know what's gonna come, and that's why he's reacting this way. So let's just see how this goes.
There we go. So now you got it. Fully in. Let it go. Fully in. Let it go. Fully in. Let it go. Keep on going. The mind goes with the breath. Don't mind about nothing else but your breath.
So the Wim Hof method is 3 cycles of 30 breaths. Now that takes quite some time. So they're not going to do this in this podcast. They're only going to do one cycle of 30 breaths. And after the 30th breath, you're going to exhale, and then you're going to hold your breath until you feel the first urge to breathe. Then you stop, you inhale again, and you hold it for another 10 seconds while you squeeze the air towards your head. That is one cycle of the Wim Hof breathing method.
This, by the way, this technique, with this we change fundamentally medical science of our perspective of what we can do within our physiological depth against bacteria, virus, depression, neurological diseases, etc.
There you have it. So this is the first time he mentioned against bacteria, against viruses. I've been doing the Wim Hof method for quite some time, and it just baffles me that we are in a situation worldwide where we have a disease that directly attacks your respiratory system, your lungs, in worst case scenario, and there is not a single government that talks about breathing. I mean, teaching the people, citizens, how to breathe. Don't you think this is extremely concerning and worrisome? That the knowledge that is out there that Wim Hof has for many, many, many years, that this is not being promoted.
It's about as bad as it can possibly get.
So when your 30 breaths are finished, you exhale, hold your breath.
Now comes the last one. Fully in. Let it go. And stop after the exhalation. Close your mouth. No smuggling, just witness. There is no need for breathing.
This is also interesting if you compare Jordan's facial expression with the one of his daughter. There is a big difference we're seeing here. You can clearly see that Jordan is not feeling comfortable and Michaela is feeling comfortable. So I might suspect here that she has already some kind of experience in breath holding or meditation and that Jordan hasn't, which kind of surprises me for a man. That is the way this guy uses words to express feelings and emotions. I mean, I've been following this guy for many years, but you can clearly see on his face that he is not feeling comfortable.
The carbon dioxide has been blown off. pH level is really high. There is no trigger to breathe.
All right, so Wim Hof explains here in a brilliant fashion what is hyperventilation. So, of course, these 30 cycles in Wim Hof breathing method, that is hyperventilation. Now, there has been a lot to do in freediving community about whether the Wim Hof method is good or bad for freediving. Hyperventilation is something that we don't do in freediving when we dive. So when I say when we dive, it means when we dive vertically and also horizontally in a pool, which we call dynamic freediving. So we don't do hyperventilation before we do that because this might be dangerous. There is a higher risk of blacking out, and of course you want to avoid that. But for static breath holding, which is just laying down in the water and holding your breath always with the body, of course, more and more freedivers are doing this with some kind of hyperventilation breathe up. Now, hyperventilation doesn't mean that you have to go berserk. You can also do mild hyperventilation, and I've made a video about this. I'll link it up in the cards here and in the description. So we call this the 5-5 hyperventilation breathe up. You're going to inhale during 5 seconds and exhale during 5 seconds. Now, I know some people will not agree with this, and other people are doing it for years already with magnificent results. So let's please not go into that discussion. That's not what this video is about. This is about Wim Hof, and obviously it's hyperventilation.
You're deep into the physiology of your being, the way nature meant it to be. Because you are right now in deep, deep stress, but you are tranquil. It's a paradox.
How cool is that? You are in deep, deep stress, but you are relaxed. It's a paradox.
3, 2, 1. Fully in. Fully in and hold. Fully in. Hold. Squeeze it to your head. 3, 2, 1, let it go. There we are.
God, I hated that.
I wasn't expecting anything else from Jordan Peterson. I hated that. You can see that he wasn't relaxed. You can see he was struggling, and he knows that his body language is speaking, so he knows that we can see that. So he kind of had to say that. But I'm so curious to know what will happen with this man after a couple of days or a couple of weeks, how he will feel.
Did we hold our breath for 90 seconds?
You could, yes, for 90 seconds. You guys did 90 seconds. There. It's all here.
Okay, so this is perfectly possible on your very first try ever, after the first cycle, that you can hold your breath after exhalation already for 90 seconds. I mean, for an advanced freediver, for someone who is familiar with the Wim Hof method, this is nothing new, of course, but for a beginner, for someone with little to no knowledge about breath holding after exhalation, 90 seconds, that seems like something impossible. I mean, for some people, 90 seconds, 1 minute and a half on full lungs already seems impossible. So imagine what this can do to the confidence of a beginner, of someone who doesn't feel comfortable, someone who is struggling with anxiety, and who is convinced, like Jordan, that 90 seconds after exhalation is just simply impossible.
This is round number 1. Round number 2, we would go 2 minutes. Round number 3, 2.5. Number 4, 3 minutes.
Of holding breath, exhale.
Air in the lungs, yes.
So it doesn't stop with 1 cycle. You do 2 cycles, 3 cycles, or even 4. I usually do 3, but you can do 4. And Wim says that with a little practice, you can hold your breath after exhalation for 3 full minutes on your 4th cycle. So how good is that?
You will see. How do you feel?
Well, I'm not wandering around the room uncontrollably moving and screaming. So, you know, that's better than 3 or 4 hours of my day. I'm still able to stay calm and sit here and talk to you.
This is, for me, a key moment in this interview. He's not saying this to please the audience. He's saying this because he truly means it. So after this first round, he already feels he is able to sit still. Whereas before, he said that 200 to 300 times per day, he feels anxious and he feels like walking around, he can't sit still. Only after 1 cycle.
If you lie on the couch or at home on the bed, you are even more relaxed. Then the tissue is able to open up more and receive even more oxygen. Then the pH levels, they go even way up more. And then it's easier to not breathe. what happens when you not breathe and your pH levels are actually okay. They are great. Then there is no oxygen. Suddenly the oxygen drops dramatically. Nobody understands in the hospital.
So the idea of hyperventilation is to drop levels of CO2, carbon dioxide. So a misconception out there that is that hyperventilation is about putting more oxygen in your system. No, we have an oxygen saturation of 95 to 99%. Hyperventilation is about exhaling CO2. So the more you hyperventilate, the more you exhale CO2. So the oxygen levels are staying the same, before your breath hold, of course, but your CO2 levels are lower. And that's why you can hold your breath longer, because it is not the lack of oxygen that makes you feel this urge to breathe. It is rising CO2 levels. So the longer you hold your breath, the more CO2 you get in your system. And that is what telling you, okay, I have to breathe now. That is what is giving you the urge to breathe. So imagine if before a breath hold, you're doing hyperventilation, so you're exhaling the CO2, so you start your breath hold with already lower levels of CO2, then of course it's going to take longer until the CO2 levels start increasing and telling you, hey, it's time to breathe. So that is why you can hold your breath longer or seemingly longer after hyperventilation. Now, trained freedivers, that's another story. We learn how to deal with the urge to breathe, and we learn how to hold our breath without hyperventilation. One is not better than the other, it's just a different technique.
That is where normal people die. We go even lower.
In doing just what we just did.
Yes. If you do 3 minutes, you go lower than people who are dying.
So that's why your oxygen levels can go so low, because you still do not feel the urge to breathe. If you want, you can call this like an alarm clock, an alarm system. So the CO2 is your alarm clock. Well, if you have lower levels of CO2, your alarm clock will go off later. So the longer you hold your breath, the more your O2, oxygen levels, decrease. So obviously, after hyperventilation, you can hold your breath longer to a degree that your oxygen levels would be lower than during the same breath hold for which you would not have been doing hyperventilation. I hope that makes sense.
And that means that in the brainstem, the survival brain, the survival triggers, they come up with the adrenal axis, hypothalamus, epiphysis, pituitary gland, and the adrenal glands. Boom! And then anything that should not be in the body is gotten rid of.
Oh.
It's like
I
a
see.
big sweep.
Yeah.
This is another pivoting moment in this interview. So what is so good about this method? Well, you go into a state of stress. And when you go into stress, your body goes into survival mode, of course. And anything that is going on in your body that stops you from being alive and stops you from keeping your vital organs working, like heartbeat and respiration, anything that works against you has to get out of your body. So that's what your body is doing. So that is the essence of the Wim Hof Method.
In 2014, I showed as the first one in medical science to be able to be injected and then have no symptoms with the E. coli bacteria, which can be lethal. It's a strong bacteria, and it causes the cytokine storm. Cytokine storm is inflammatory markers going berserk within our body because it doesn't not know what's happening, and everything is an alarm, and it can damage our system. That's a cytokine storm. That's COVID as well.
Right.
That's the damaging factor of COVID. And we could not do anything against that. And then the
cytokine storm, this is something that we have heard now in the news many times. So since the start of this pandemic, we learned about the cytokine storm. So if your immune system goes in overdrive, that's a cytokine storm. So we have an immune system to protect us from invaders, bacteria, viruses. And that immune system is working to keep us healthy. But if the intruder is too strong, or if it is unknown to the body, it might be that this immune system goes into such an overdrive because it doesn't know what to do. It's like in shock because there is a new virus coming in, and then it's actually hurting you more than it should. This is the cytokine storm. It's a hyperreaction of your immune system. It's not the virus that is actually attacking you, it's your own immune system.
And you're making the case that if we expose ourselves to relatively extreme stressors that we become more integrated psychophysiologically.
Yes, exactly.
How can you not love this man? We become more integrated psychophysiologically if we expose ourselves to stress. I mean, come on. This makes more sense to me than anything I've heard for the last year on TV. Guys, if you've been doing Wim Hof for some time and you had some kind of illness or anxiety and you feel that Wim Hof has truly helped you, then please let us know in the comments because we want to know about your story. If you want to know more about mastering freediving, then hit the round subscribe button here. And here I have a full video in which I explain the whole Wim Hof breathing method step by step. So go ahead and click on that. That's it, guys. See you next time. Peace in every breath.